guys, my name is Raya from Freetown, Sierra Leone. I am a lawyer and a music producer, and I am excited to be on set for GHS Volume 2.
Hi, my name is Oche Peter, stage name Young Oche. I'm a musical artist, I'm a songwriter, and a part-time model. I'm from Benue State, Nigeria. I'm very happy to be here.
Hello, I'm Folasade. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm a researcher and also a small business owner. I am excited and I'm so honored to be invited to be on the set of Global Relevance Series Volume 2.
Hello guys, my name is Adisa. I'm a UX designer at Future Academy Africa. KitanDavid is my boss, putting me through the UX journey, and I'm really excited to be at the Global Relevance Series Volume 2.
We live in a fast-changing world, and technology is changing the way we do everything, from the way we eat to the way we date and the way we interact. And why the whole world is scared of unemployment? Because machines and robots are taking our jobs. Instead, we should position ourselves for re-employment. Welcome to Global Relevance Series Volume 2. I cannot keep talking about how excited I am with the number of people that have registered from different cities across Africa, from Cairo to Johannesburg to Lagos. I could go on and on mentioning cities. We are talking about today's African, positioning yourself for global relevance. How can I exist in this future of work? How can I make a lot of money? How can I do some work that has global impact? Let's ride.
A couple of guys are in there thinking I'm coming to talk about global human and speak big grammar. You know all those big grammar, but I'm talking about money. Money and street OT. Let's go talk about money. I'm super excited that you guys made it on set for Global Human Series Volume 2. I mean, you guys represent like the different categories of viewers, thousands of viewers from different African countries watching right now. And this is not your average lecture. I'm here to have fun, share your thoughts, because your questions are their questions, your problems are their problems. And then looking through your profile, different sectors, different facets of life. I feel we have the whole of Africa right here on this table. Let me start with you, Oche. So as a music artist from this part of the world, do you have any problem? Do you see yourself, I mean, like, what's your life like? What's your problem like?
Well, just like every other singers out there, I mean, for most that I know, I want to be one of the biggest household names in music. I want to go on international tours. I want to win Grammy. I want to, you know, be with the biggest of stars on the biggest stage. Of course, there are so many problems facing upcoming artists like myself, rising artists. Visibility is one of them. In fact, I think the biggest, in my opinion. I've tried to use small amounts to tackle parts of this problem. I would say using social media, for example, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Snapchat. These are free platforms I try to use to create content, you know, put out my songs, and, you know, I've got a few people who come through to listen through this platform, and yeah.
Yeah, I made a couple of points when you were talking, and then I actually understood your problem statement around visibility. And there's one beautiful thing you said about using lesser amounts to put your craft outside. Nobody sets the standards for this thing. I'm sure some 20 years ago, it cost like ×4 of what it costs now to make music, but technology is making life easier, better, and faster. But one thing we need to understand is the world is governed by a few. And I like to say this because a lot of people think out there that what's my own, I'm not a music artist, but it's about craft. People that make shoes, make bags, you find out a lot of them, their names is house of, house by, styled by. And that already tells me you want to put yourself out there, because the value your brand has is the value your product will have. And then that's how much I will be willing to pay for your product as a customer. So one perfect example is Cardi B drops a song. I mean, how do I know Cardi B drops a song? As a Nigerian, as a Ghanaian, I just open YouTube and I see Cardi B's video. It's not the same for Wizkid. It's not the same for Shatta Wale. When Wizkid drops a song, when Davido drops a song, a New Yorker doesn't just open YouTube and find the video in their faces. Now, Cardi B probably did not need to do anything other than probably walking the walk she walked as an American. And the promotion agencies, the music production companies in America already have this globalness, permits me to use that word. And for a Nigerian, it's not the same. So, like I said, the world is governed by a few. The top 6 people in the world own the rest of the money of the world. And that makes it quite an unfair game, but you don't want to sit down there blaming the system when you could just understand that this is what I want, and if I want what Cardi B also wants, if I want what DaBaby also wants, if I want what that upcoming model or fashion designer on the streets of Italy, on the streets of Spain also wants, my journey is going to be different. And that is where we get to being intentional. So how do I put out my music? How do I work with different promotion agencies? Okay, I don't have the money. What are the shortcuts? The shortcuts of today become the disruption of tomorrow. I mean, Billie Eilish won Grammy recording music from her room. That is, really very few people have done that in the history of music. But I'm sure in the next couple of years, a lot of people will start making music from their rooms and winning Grammy. But that's not the way Burna Boy won Grammy. A lot of factors come into these things, but we all saw that P. Diddy was the executive producer on the album. Not like there are no producers in Nigeria. And it doesn't mean that P. Diddy will agree to be on a trash album in the first place. You have to own your craft. Of course, that's where you need more than this video. You need somebody that's walked that part. I mean, we have mentors, experienced friends, influencers, and it comes to that intentional act to say, this is my journey map. This is what I want. And this is how it is going to be for me as a Nigerian. This is the point where someone says, I don't want to relocate. I'm a Nigerian. I'm connected to my roots. First, you did not choose to be a Nigerian. And I do not like to see it as relocation. I like to see it as being global. I was made for the world. I was born in Nigeria. You're probably made for the world and born in South Sudan. And your journey to that top, where an American is already sitting, where a Senegalese is already sitting, where a British is already sitting, is going to be different as a South Sudanese. It's going to be different as a Somalian. And yes, when I get to that top, I have no problem putting some Nigerianness in my craft.
So it's hard to balance producing music and being a lawyer. One of the challenges is time. Okay, but putting time aside, there's a stereotype. Like, there's a way that lawyers are meant to look like. But when I'm like this, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm a lawyer, I can take your case, and they'll be like, oh, you're like, you look unserious, blah, 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 blah. Expressing myself is a problem. Because I like to dress creatively, but the court of law expects me to be professional with my looks. But I love my rings. I am not about to get rid of them. And then the piercings and the normal appearance of a lawyer is a serious person with the wig and no piercings, just one earring and a professional look. But I'm not ready to trade my identity for a profession that I love so much.
I can imagine the number of people that are listening to you right now and they're like, go girl, that's me. That's the reason why I quit this profession. I mean, I'm so in love with my identity and I really want to be this. But I can't trade my identity for this. So a lot of people quit and they're now focused on the other thing, and the world has gone past side hustle and main hustle. I mean, people are doing like 4 different things, which is main, which is side. I've seen people make more money from that thing they call side hustle to main hustle. And, you know, we are not in the era of people dropping one for one. So I sit on board of an NGO, and in like the past 5 years, I've spoken to over 1,500 kids personally. And when you go to an average school in Africa and you ask, what do you want to become? You always hear doctors, lawyers, and engineers. That's very cliche. Doctors, lawyers, and engineers. Now, an amazing fact is that the people that live in like the far interior, the place we call rural areas, a lot of these kids want to be soldiers. And I'll tell you why. A child never wants to become what he doesn't know. And that is why I go to a village and I see a child making cars out of bottles and things. He puts tires and puts batteries and the car is working fine. And you ask him, let's give the child a name now. Let's say Jerry. You ask Jerry, Jerry, what do you want to become? Jerry looks at you and says, doctor. Jerry says he wants to become a doctor because he does not know that there's something called robotics engineer. And since a child always wants to become what he knows and cannot want to become what he doesn't know, every child wants to become the profession they look up to. So there's one doctor in the church, there's one doctor in the community that has 3 cars. All the cars are on loan anyway, he has not finished paying them. But that is the person that is celebrated in the religious institution. I mean, when dad and mom are talking at home, that's the person they always run to for financial help. And the child just understood these things covertly and says that I want to be a doctor. And it goes for the kids in the rural areas that want to be soldiers, kids I've spoken to, because there's always insurgency, there's always kidnappings, militants, and then soldiers are everywhere. And there's this soldier that he's talking to, his elder sister or her elder sister, and then the elder sister is falling in love with the soldier, and like, oh, my sister cooks for the soldier, I want to be a soldier. So it brings us to that fact, like, I have my identity, like you, and I want to be a lawyer. You know what I tell these kids? It's okay to want to be a doctor. It's okay to want to be a lawyer. It's okay to want to be an engineer. But I want you to understand that 21 years from now, law, medicine, and engineering would not be practiced the same way it is practiced now. And that is where people like me and you come in. There are different rules and regulations for different professions, especially for a professional body like law, that you need to get to that top place of your craft before you start. I mean, these rules have existed since, but this is one technological parable, like I like to say, a real story. If you were born in the 1300s to like the 1500s, you would live 100 years without seeing a single technological advancement in nothing. That is, when you are born and when you die, the way people farm is the way people farm. The way people fish is the way people fish. But recently, based on the future of work and the way it is affecting everybody, they say, if you want to live up to standard of technological advancement in your profession, that is, if you are a fashion designer, you want to use the latest technological style of making clothes or shoes or lingeries in your profession, you will change your style 14 times in 2 years. Now, in 2021, I'm going to change my style 14 times in 2 years if I want to live up to that technological standard. But if I was a fashion designer in the 1300s, I would start my career 1321 and probably die 1405, and I would make clothes and shoes the same way. So it tells us that these things are changing. And I'm sure there are different parts of law. Now you find people saying they are lawyers for artists, they are lawyers for startups. Like, yeah, some people, there's business law, right? And then, but under business law now, you find people in Silicon Valley, in really, really developed economies that say they are lawyers for startups. And yes, even though there's a way they should dress, there's a way they should look like, from, if you've not been to Silicon Valley before, at least from movies you watch, they do not appear in courtrooms. I mean, they appear, I don't know what it's called in law, just somebody sitting on both cases, and they are not in wigs, they are not in gowns, and they are, yes, some of them have tattoos. But that is because technology is advancing, and if technology is advancing, every area is going to advance. And that tells us that in the next few years, they say, NAS Academy actually said this, that there will be 3 classes of people. Now we have high class, low class, and middle class. It says there will be high class, low class, and useless class. There will be no middle class, because the future belongs to people that can create content, or people that can invest in people creating content, and people that can engineer or design. So if you're going to be a lawyer in the next 20 years, or you are still going to be in law in the next 20 years, it doesn't stop your music production career. It doesn't stop your bead making career. It doesn't stop your dancing career. I mean, you could be a dancer. It's just that the way law is going to be practiced is going to be different, because the things people are going to be suing themselves to court about is going to be different. I mean, people sue themselves to court now over infringement of copyright on a Twitter post. In 1934, nobody did that. And in 1934, lawyer cannot, in all his wisdom, cannot sit in a courtroom and start analyzing Twitter posts. He would need to keep up the trend. So there's a balance. And yeah, I mean, some people have tried to like balance it, and it's definitely not working. For example, right now, Adisa is a UX designer. Am I correct? And for him, he wants to...
I hope to work in companies like Netflix, Amazon, and some of these Fortune 500 companies in the nearest future. And of course, I know that this comes with a lot of processes, having to work with remote companies, positioning myself well for global opportunities, which is one of the reasons why I'm here at Global Human Series, to gain insights as to how I can properly position myself and, you know, be one of the people that will have global impacts.
One thing you need to understand is that your dreams are valid. Very, very valid. They look big, they look high, but they're valid. Why? The future is outsourcing. You already check your iPhones, your Samsungs. You see designed in America, made in China. Now, the future of technology is both hardware and software.
But with the advancement and the future of work, we are going towards materials that are lighter and tougher. So before, any material that is tough has to be heavy. But right now, there are a lot of money pumped into research. There are startups, there are large corporations working actively to ensure that materials are lighter, yet tougher. So yeah, hardware goes to China, India most times, and software, yes, Asia and Africa. When they look for outsourcing, they think Asia and Africa, probably in that order. And coming to Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and probably Egypt lead all these things. So it's not a question of, again, like what I said to young Oche, it's about processes. Because your dreams are very valid. It's looking big in your head, but there's actually a point to it. Understanding your positioning. What does a UX designer at Facebook right now, what does it look like? Do I have those skills? Am I working towards those skills? Since it's skill-based and it's already your profession, it's in your line of interest, that means you just need to work towards it. So I know in UX there's something called user persona. You draw a user persona of what does a UX designer, what does a UX engineer in Netflix, what does it look like? The one in Amazon, what are the social skills he has outside UX? How does he do his UX? And how can I be that guy? And on your path to being that guy, what are their CVs like? Where have they worked for? Did they just leave from school internship? Of course, some of them moved from Harvard to start working in Facebook. But you are not in Harvard. You probably graduated from a Nigerian university and you do not know anybody that got his internship placement from Obafemi Awolowo University or from Covenant University and got an internship at Facebook HQ. Since you don't have a lot of those examples to follow, you understand what a UX designer in these organizations look like at the moment, and you see how you can actually be that person. First, then my journey as a Nigerian. Which startups do I need to work for? Which jobs don't I need to take? What does my CV need to look like? What conversations do I have to be in? And that brings me to the point where, I can just picture the day you get that email that you've been offered a role in Facebook and then you're happy. The biggest decisions about your life will always be made when you are not in the room. That is what happens across sectors. The decision to give birth to you, you are not consulted. If somebody is planning to kill you today, you will not be asked that, excuse me, sir, would you like us to kill you at 12 a.m. or at 12 p.m.? So the biggest, if nobody sought your permission to give birth to you and nobody's going to seek your permission to kill you, which I pray nobody does, you are not also going to think that big decisions about your life, they are going to consult you. So if the big decisions about my life, your life, and the life of everybody watching us right now is going to be made when they are not in the room, what influences that decision is how you've lived your life. How you've lived your life to people in the room to say, Adisa can do this. And for you applying to jobs online, you'll be like, these people don't know me, but they know you from your application. They know you from your resume. And everything on your resume and your application is how you've lived your life. The jobs you take, the jobs you took, the jobs you didn't take, the organizations you volunteered for, the life projects that they can check and it's working. And that's where they say, okay, we're going to work with this guy. And most times that's not luck. That's active work, that's hard work, that's processes, that's having a goal, having something you want to look like, and then seeing how you can achieve that as a Nigerian that graduated from so university or institution, or probably did not even go to school. These companies do not care if you went to the university or you went to Polytechnic or you have a PhD, except you're going to be working in their research section. That's when they check your master's and your PhD degree. But if you're going to be working as a UX designer, they do not check all of that. So if the biggest decision about my life is going to be made when I'm not in the room, how do I live my life? How do I ensure that this daily lifestyle fits into what my goal is going to be like? And it brings us to conversations. Your conversation then goes to disrupt your journey. Your journey automatically disrupts your vision. Your vision determines your training. Then your training determines your circle. Your circle creates your opportunities, and your opportunities create your wealth.
Wow. And that was the point that really got to me. The association part, how it affects your career, journey, and the conversation and your intentional friendship. Like, who makes intentional friends these days? Like, most of the friends I have are from school, church, maybe social gathering, and that's all. Like, there's no friend that I went to meet that, okay, yes, I want you to be my friend.
A lot of folks out there think that life chooses your friends, life chooses your association, but then you are in charge. And people go like, oh, I met my friend in school. If I had not gone to this school, I would not have met so friend. Then choose the school you go to. The moment, ignorance is bliss, but the moment you understand this now, be intentional about so many things in your life. You already have a goal, you already have an ambition, you already have a vision. Yes, nothing will play out 100% as planned, but we can orchestrate some things. Be intentional about what you do, be intentional about friends. There's nothing bad in walking up to some people to say, I want to be your friend. Because like I said, if you are in the right association, what makes it the right association for me might not be the right association for you. If you are in the right association, you will have the right conversations. And these conversations goes ahead to disrupt your journey. Like I said, everybody's on a journey. We are on a journey to doing something. You are on a particular journey. That's why we are watching this video right now. So it's conversations shape you, associations shape you. Some people go like, oh, read books. Books is going to shape you. Books don't shape nobody. Because if you give me a book and the same book is given to you, we are going to read it from different angles. We never see things the way things are. We see things the way we are. So what increases the value, the depth, the energy that we individually carry is conversations. How do we have conversations? With associations. So if I'm in the right associations, I will have the right conversations, and conversations will just go ahead to disrupt your journey. Have you ever been at home and you remember what your friend said, or you remember what somebody's mother said about you, and then you're like, that's true, I should stop doing this. Or that's true, I should start doing this. That's your journey being disrupted. And then when your journey is disrupted, it automatically disrupts your vision. Now, at the point where you have a vision, that this is what I want, and this is what I want to be, you now determine your own training. Because myself and yourself can have the same vision to be an actor, and then you start thinking of going to be a mentee or a veteran actor, while I start thinking of going to a movie or a choreography academy. That's why I use the verb determine. So your vision determines, we can have the same vision and choose different trainings. So your vision determines your training. Immediately your training is determined, you enter a circle. Your best friends are made in school. Your longest standing friends are made in school. Because that is what training does. Training determines circle. And when we are in circles, circles create opportunities. If any opportunity comes to young Oche now around user experience, he's a music artist, he's not a user experience designer. This Global Human Series set has brought him in a circle with Adisa. So your circle creates your opportunities, and then your opportunities just create your wealth. You cannot be more wealthy than the opportunities you have. It's not possible, even in fraud. For you to be a successful fraudster, you dupe people or dupe companies based on the opportunities that are around you. If I do not have $1 million in my account, you cannot dupe me of $1 million. If I do not have $1 million in my account, you cannot do a brand identity design for me. You cannot make music for me. You cannot shoot a video for me for $1 million. So your circle creates your opportunities, and your opportunities create your wealth. So instead of chasing wealth, what you really need to focus on is association. And the next thing you may need to focus on again is training. But training comes after a vision. And that is where you say, okay, what kind of circle? The world is global now. We are connected. Circles don't necessarily mean the people you hang out with, BFFs, best friends forever. We are this gang, we are this clique. No, the circles even go as small as the kind of email listings you get. What kind of emails do you get? If we check through your email account, your inbox, what kind of spam mails do you get? All these mails come from where you've imputed your email, where you subscribe to mailing list. Have you, based on what you want to achieve in life, have you registered for Michelle Obama's newsletter? Have you registered for the research grant from Facebook? Where did you put your email? Because those are circles. And all these emails, what is spam to you is what I need. But it's spam. If I get an email right now around choreography, it's going to be very useless to me. I delete it immediately, it's spam.
So I am probably in some associations or some circles that give me that meal that I do not need. I want to be intentional about it. I do not have money to go to Harvard. I'm not that opportune. If I'm opportune, I'll go. But then nobody even cares about school anymore. And that's what Global Human Service is about. That understanding that you are for the world, but you were made in whatever country of Africa you were made in. And there is no problem getting to that global stage and adding that Nigerianness, adding that Ghanaian factor, adding that South Sudanese factor, adding that Kenyan vibe to what you do is what makes the world go round, is what makes the world a very, very beautiful place. And I would like to end this webcast with one story I love so much. And it's a story from the Holy Book, the Bible, but I don't want you to look at it from a religious angle. I want you to look at it as history because it actually happened. I mean, it's the story of the Tower of Babel. What struck me in that story the most is that some guys, many years before Christ, decided to build something that was going to touch the sky so that they could climb and see God. And then God said that these guys are going to do it. Let's go down. God came down to check what they were doing and said they are going to do it. And that tells me the power that I carry as human. Whatever I am, either I'm African, American, I'm first human before I'm anything else. The brain in the head of an African child is the brain in the head of a Chinese child. You tell me that a Chinese child could calculate logarithm. They taught him that. If you grew up in an environment where they speak 7 languages, you'll probably be speaking 7 or probably 9 because you would have learned 2 on the internet. What struck me about this story is that oxygen tanks is the innovation that came in recently. Space suits, astronaut suits, it's an innovation that innovations that came in recently. But back then, God was sure they would do it. Those guys have not even built the tower to the point where they start losing oxygen. At some point when you start building, the little physics we know tells us that as you go higher, oxygen gets lesser. And there were no oxygen tanks. That told me that if God watched those folks build that tower, oxygen tanks and spacesuits would have come earlier than they should. So that's the power I carry as a human. And it doesn't matter that I'm African. It is what is in me. And I can deliver it anywhere in the world. And that is why you should start thinking that what environment, what community has the opportunities I need in abundance and migrate to those communities. That is what we call Japa in Nigeria. It is not because you're running from poverty. When you run from poverty, you just live a little bit above poverty. There are people in America suffering. There are people in London suffering. But you are going into an environment that has the opportunities for your dreams, for your ambitions in abundance so that you can shine. You can easily be celebrated because nobody has lived before and we are all living once. So we take our opportunities and we go to the places where they're in abundance. So for me, it's America. For you, it's Germany. For some people, it's Spain. For some people, it's South Africa. For some people, it's remaining in your home country, Ghana. Just do that and be global. I'll see you at the top. Thank you.